Welcome back to CodesEmpire, my friends. Well, I know a lot of you were real interested in this H2 Hummer 6 scale, and I just wanted to show you a little bit of what's in this and under it and how I did this 6 scale. So we'll kind of start in underneath this truck so you guys can kind of see. Basically, this truck's set up with Wraith axles on front and rear. Okay, you can see we have RC 4-wheel drive Punisher shafts. If I remember, these are some of the longest Punisher shafts you can get. I can't remember. I'll put all the information down in the description box. Along with, I cannot remember this transfer case either, but I'll put that down there in the description box. There's a ton of RC 4-wheel drive parts on this rig. But basically, I custom built this C-channel frame from front to rear. And you can see I notched this out, and yes, it's not welded, but it's still attached, and it's secured to basically this interior piece, so it keeps it rigid and stiff basically, and it works really slick. Now let's get up under here. Hopefully this will focus in enough for you guys. You can also see another one of those RC 4-wheel drive Punisher shafts going up, and it actually goes up to transmission up under the hood. Kind of give a little bit of scale realism, but we'll go up there in a minute and I'll show you some more. You can check out the links down here up front, because I just kind of used what I did have. These happen to be Red Cat links. I cannot remember exact measurements on these, but it gave me enough so I could get the articulation I needed on this truck. And then I've got Axial Wraith upper links on the upper part, which you can see those kind of tucked up in there. Let's see if I can get it. There they are. And then also in the rear, I've got Axial Wraith upper and lower links in the rear, which this was pretty slick to set up here. And then the shocks are the 90mm Icon SCX 10 shocks, which I just happen to have several sets laid around. So I figured, why not? Let's just use them on this build. And so I was able to use a kind of a pre-existing shock mount that was already here on this, and then modified it to make these shocks mount into it, and then of course just right onto the axle like a normal set of shocks would. So it's a pretty slick setup. You can see the frame going back in the back, and yeah, it goes up at an angle. This was a trick to try to figure out how to get the correct angle on this, but it works, and it's mounted up there. And here's the front, and of course I've got I just mounted the servo on the axle just like a standard, you know, if you had your Wraith or whatnot, how you'd have it set up. And it's a Savox servo. I can't remember off the top of my head the ounce torque this has, but I do have a BEC running it, and it is waterproof with silicone, or not silicone, this one is acrylic conformal coating. Been using that a little bit more, so I can play in the snow, water, whatever. Works pretty slick. And then it's got boom racing steering links and C-hubs and knuckles on this bad boy. Pretty slick. And then of course these, if I remember right, these are boom racing bead locks. And then of course these are, you can see the PitBull 2.2 Rock Beast. And these things are slick. I mean, you can see my hand on this bad boy, and this thing is, these are huge. They're awesome. Love it. And you can see the shock mount, the shock setup up front. Kind of created a bit of a deal up there, and kind of set these ones up front with a little bit of droop. So the front actually has some spring back to them, and the rear has spring back to them, and the front is set up on droop. But it works pretty slick for the way it's set up. And then of course, the lights, it only has a few stock, and I used the existing lights that were in it, and then I added a bunch more because, you know, man, I love my trucks to be full of LED lights. So, and you can see some of the ones I added. Okay, well, here is the setup up here. So you can see the RC four-wheel drive. Sorry, it's not focusing real good, but you can see the RC four-wheel drive drive shaft that comes up there, and it works out slick. Was able to mate it right up onto. This is it's for an Axial Wraith. It's a transmission for it, but it is it's from Asia Tees. I can't remember which one of them it is, which brand it is from there, but anyways, had it laying around. I figured why not. It's got all hardened steel metal gears in it, and then it's got an Integy dual motor mount set up, and I'm running an 80 tooth aluminum spur gear, and then two 20 tooth steel spur gear or pinion gears on there. So this thing, and they're 55 turn axial motors, which I just happen to have a couple laying around, and they are hooked up. Let's see if we can get it under here. Sorry there. Okay, it's a HobbyWing dual motor ESC, which works out really slick, gives it plenty of power. Can run it on I've run it on 3S, which works sweet. You can see my BEC in there, and then of course I've got all the wires kind of covered up a little bit, and then of course I've got my LED light controller mounted up under there. So, but anyways, this is the H2 Hummer 1/6 scale, and this project originally my dad and I was going to work on. We had talked about it years ago, and I'd started to get all the parts for it, and unfortunately he passed away last fall, so we weren't able to work on this together like we'd hoped. But my mom gave it to us for Christmas and had the opportunity to work on this. But kind of back to give you guys a little bit of idea, you know, down underneath this whole entire chassis, this has a lot under this that you have to remove. And so I know a lot of times, you know, you'll get an idea for a project, and sometimes it's a little spooky to think, gosh, I don't know if I want to tackle this kind of project. But this worked out really slick. I did have to do a bit of dribbling to be able to run the, let's get up under here so you can see, to run that forward drive shaft up to the transmission up front. And that worked out pretty sweet. There was a little modification as far as there is a, and we probably can't see it all too well, a little bit. There's an SEX10 skid plate that the transmission is mounted to, which is mounted to the frame rails that I put in there. And you can see it's kind of, I mean, it's not perfect, but it works. And I've had to take it apart a few times when in the process of getting things set up to make it work the way I needed to, but it works really, really slick. And it has a lot of torque and a lot of power. But I did run into some issues at first because I didn't have enough torque basically to make this thing go. That's why I did the dual motor setup. later on discovered part of my issue was in the transmission. I had a screw that was actually too tight and kind of binding the gears up, which kind of surprised me. But anyways, now this thing has got monstrous amount of torque after I put the dual motor setup in it. But I do have in the back, and let's get back here and see just for a minute so you guys can see. But you can see, there. You can see I have the wires run back here for the battery, and then I got a GoPro set up back here so I can mount it and you can film right up over the seats. And then the battery's 3S lipo or 2S, whatever you prefer to run. I like the 3S because it really gives me the power I want with this setup, and it has a lot of get up and go. But I can plug it in and away I go. And then I can just cover it up with that little homemade blanket we made. Here, let's get up in there and you can see we've got some kind of cool, sweet scale accessories in there. Fishing pole, net, basketball, water can. There's our driver. Let's get in here a little bit. Yeah, you can see I had to remove his feet because of the setup, and you could probably see him up here. If I didn't have all this stuff up here, I'd just kick his feet up over that little ledge there. But like I said, part of where the drive shaft comes in and everything, I had to drum out a lot of stuff, and I just want to avoid having issues going up front there. So, but anyways, so I took his feet off. It's all good. Let's just tucked him up under the dash there. There he is. There's his co-driver. Got some cool scale accessories. Got some $100 bills in the dash there. Pretty slick. Anyways, it was definitely a fun little project truck. I can't think of anything else I could talk to you guys about on that. Minus, you know, creating some kind of C-channel frame for these trucks is pretty important, because once you remove all the plastic guts from underneath, you lose all the rigidness, and basically everything underneath is just this interior that's inside, so it's really flexible, and you need to strengthen it back up, and so hence making some kind of C-channel frame for it, something to strengthen it up. You know, I guess if you wanted to use some flat stock, you could do that too, but hey, it works. It's fun. The kids sure enjoy it, and this thing gets around. We can't wait to get outside and play some more with this thing. It's been a fun truck in the winter, and we look forward to some more fun adventures with this huge 6-scale truck. But a lot of it is trial and error and asking around and getting some ideas on what to do with these trucks and how to create them. But I'll sure tell you, this large scale truck is lots and lots of fun. So just on one quick note, I just wanted to thank everybody for all of your support, for watching our channel and subscribing, and even visiting our Facebook page and watching our various builds on Facebook. I know I've posted a lot of stuff over time on Facebook, and so we really appreciate all your guys' support. And thanks again, guys, for helping build our channel to where it is now, and thanks for watching and liking all of our videos. So again, we hope you guys enjoy this video and like it and share it around. You know, if you have any questions or you'd like to see more information on anything on this, like I said, I'll put a bunch of stuff down in the description box, and I'm glad to help out and answer any questions I can. And shortly here soon, I'll start working on this 6-scale build and get this thing finished up. So kind of excited about it and looking forward to getting it done now that I've got a few other parts I've been needing. So anyways, this is a Range Rover Sport, so can't wait to get this thing built up. But anyways, thanks again for watching with CodesEmpire, and we'll see you on the next trail adventure.